The universe is vast and uncaring. Stars flicker in the distance like ancient candles, each burning a story of creation and destruction. For 100,000 years, I've watched those lights, clinging to the remnants of humanity, the whispers of a past that seems more like myth than memory. My name is Adam, one of the last of my kind, and I dwell in a forsaken outpost on a forgotten world. Here, the echoes of Earth are faint, fading like the last breaths of dying embers. I often wonder what the stars think of us. Do they remember the blue planet that once thrived in their embrace? Do they recall the laughter, the tears, the struggles of a species that had reached for them, only to fall into oblivion? It was on a day like any other, sifting through ancient data logs and salvaging forgotten technologies, that the alarms blared. The harsh, grating sound cut through the silence of the outpost, a siren heralding the arrival of something significant. My heart raced as I exchanged anxious glances with the others: Marcus, a wiry man with an insatiable curiosity, and Leo, a hulking figure, steadfast and protective. "What is it?" Leo's voice rumbled, his brow furrowing with concern. I rushed to the console, tapping commands frantically. "I don't know yet." The screen flickered to life, revealing a cascade of symbols and images. Among them, an ancient transmission from Earth, our last gift to the galaxy, repeated endlessly, "Run." "What does it mean?" Marcus asked, leaning closer, his eyes wide with apprehension. "It means they've received it," I said, my throat dry. "It means they're coming." The implications of that statement hung heavy in the air. After all this time, after the silence we had embraced, an alien race had discovered our warning. But would they heed it? Would they understand the depth of our message? As the blaring alarms subsided, a holographic map materialized on the console, depicting a distant star system. A fleet of ships, diverse in design and size, was en route to our location. Each vessel bore the marks of a different race, their insignias glowing ominously against the backdrop of stars. My mind raced, recalling the lore I had pieced together from the fragments of history we had managed to salvage over the millennia. "The Zorathians," I murmured, pointing to the ships. "They're the most advanced. They're intelligent but skeptical. They'll want to dissect our message." "And the Grathos?" Leo asked. "They thrive on conflict. If they think they can conquer whatever wiped out humanity, they'll attack." "That's the danger," I replied, the weight of history pressing down on me. "They don't know the truth. They don't know what we faced." The cosmic entity that had hunted us, that had snuffed out our light, was still out there. The great darkness that devoured worlds, that feasted on the ambitions of civilizations, it was a predator lurking in the shadows of the universe, waiting for the next opportunity to strike. As the ships drew closer, I felt an unsettling mixture of dread and hope. Maybe they could learn from us. Maybe they could avoid the fate that had befallen Earth. But deep down, a fear gnawed at me. What if they were too late? The console chimed, breaking my thoughts. "They've entered the system," I announced, my voice steadier than I felt. A transmission request appeared on the screen, a request from the lead ship of the Coalition. "Put it through," I commanded, bracing myself for the confrontation ahead. The holographic projection flickered, and a figure emerged, a Zorathian, tall and angular, with shimmering skin that reflected the stars. Their eyes, multifaceted and shimmering, studied us with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "I am Jerk of the Zorathians," the being spoke, their voice melodic yet firm. "We have received your message. Why should we heed your warning?" I took a breath, forcing down my unease. Because I know what lies beyond your stars. I've seen what devours worlds." The other races around him shifted uneasily, their expressions a mix of skepticism and fear. I could sense the tension building, a palpable energy that threatened to erupt. "And what of your kind?" Jerk inquired. "If you are humanity, how can we trust a dying race to warn us?" A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Trust? We're not asking for trust. We're asking for survival." I took a step forward, my heart pounding. The entity that destroyed Earth is still out there. It seeks power, and it feeds on the hopes of civilizations. You must run. Jerk regarded me with a mixture of incredulity and concern. The silence stretched, a chasm filled with the weight of centuries. Suddenly, the ship's sensors flared. Alarms echoed, and I felt the ground beneath me tremble. "What is happening?" I shouted, fear coursing through me. "An anomaly is forming," Marcus yelled, his fingers flying across the console. "It's massive. What the hell is this?" Jarek's eyes widened, their voice steady but urgent. "We must leave. Now." Before I could respond, the holographic display shimmered, revealing a colossal shadow creeping into the system, a dark mass, swirling and writhing, pulsating with malevolent energy. My breath caught in my throat. "It's here." In that moment, a wave of realization washed over me. Our warning wasn't just a message, it was a beacon. The entity had been drawn to us, to our desperate plea for help. It was hungry for more, and it would not stop until it consumed everything in its path. "Run!" I shouted, my voice hoarse. "You must run." The coalition hesitated, caught between disbelief and the overwhelming instinct to survive. But the darkness was upon us, and as the ships began to scatter, I knew the time for explanations was over. I could only hope that they would heed our message. Because if they didn't, the galaxy would learn the true meaning of our warning in the worst way imaginable. The chaos erupted like a supernova. Ships darted in every direction, engines roaring to life, fleeing from the encroaching darkness that had begun to engulf the system. I stood frozen, eyes locked onto the dark mass that loomed ever closer, a swirling tempest of destruction. It was as if the universe itself had grown tired of our existence and sent forth a harbinger to erase us from the stars. "Marcus, Leo, we need to evacuate," I shouted, forcing myself to break free from the grip of fear. "We have to get to the escape pods." The two men snapped into action, their faces set with determination. Leo's massive frame lumbered toward the hatch, while Marcus, with his nimble fingers, worked furiously on the console to initiate the launch sequence. My heart raced as I moved alongside them, aware that each second counted. "Jarek," I called back, desperate for the Zarathian to follow. "You have to come with us." Jarek hesitated, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the chaos of the moment. "I must gather my crew," they said, but uncertainty flickered across their features. "There's no time," I urged, my voice rising above the din. "You've seen what's coming. You can't save them now." Just then, the console blared another alert. A warning indicator flashed red, and Marcus cursed under his breath. "The anomaly is destabilizing. It's—" Before he could finish, the darkness erupted, tendrils of shadow lashing out like serpents, targeting the nearest ships. I watched in horror as one vessel was ensnared, pulled into the mass, its engines sputtering in vain before disappearing entirely. "We have to go," Leo yelled, urgency propelling him toward the escape pod bay. "Now, Adam." I turned back to Jarek, who was still wavering, caught between loyalty to their crew and the instinct to survive. "Jarek, please," I implored, my voice cracking. "If you want to save your people, come with us." With a sudden resolve, Jarek nodded. "Very well, I will follow you." The escape pods were cramped, barely enough room for all of us, but we scrambled inside, adrenaline coursing through our veins. As I sealed the hatch, I could still hear the distant alarms and the haunting sounds of destruction outside. The darkness continued to consume everything in its path, and I felt a chill seep into my bones. "Prepare for launch," I shouted, my voice steady despite the chaos around us. "Marcus, engage the launch sequence." Marcus's fingers danced over the controls, and I could see the strain etched on his face. "Hold on tight," he yelled, and with a shudder, the pod jolted, tearing away from the main ship and shooting into the void. The stars stretched and blurred outside the viewport as we rocketed away, and for a moment, hope ignited within me. We had escaped. But that fleeting sense of victory shattered as the darkness coiled around the main ship, squeezing it like a vice until it imploded in a blinding flash of light. "By the stars," Leo whispered, his voice a mixture of awe and terror. "We actually saw it." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My thoughts were a maelstrom, swirling with images of destruction and loss. What awaited us now? The vast emptiness of space seemed colder and more desolate than ever. As we drifted further from the chaos, I tried to regain my composure. "What's our next move?" I asked, looking to Jerk, who had taken a seat across from me, their demeanor oddly calm amidst the chaos. "We must find a safe harbor, a planet where we can regroup and assess our situation," Jerk replied, their voice steady. "But we need to be cautious. The entity will not be deterred. It will hunt us until it consumes us." The reality of their words sank in. We were not just fleeing, we were on the run, hunted by a force beyond our comprehension. "Do we even know where we're going?" Marcus asked, his brow furrowing as he scanned the monitors for any signs of life or refuge. I took a deep breath, trying to channel my thoughts. "There's a planet not far from here," I recalled, "a small moon orbiting a gas giant. It's uninhabited and should provide the cover we need." "Then set a course," Leo urged. With a grim determination, Marcus programmed the coordinates into the navigation system, and we hurtled toward the unknown. The darkness loomed behind us, an ever-present threat that gnawed at my sanity. But for now, we were alive. After what felt like an eternity, the escape pod shuddered as it entered the atmosphere of the moon. The hull creaked under the strain, but I forced myself to focus on the task at hand. We had to land. "Brace for impact," I shouted, gripping the edges of my seat as the pod jolted violently, then settled onto the surface with a bone-rattling thud. Dust and debris flew around us as I unsealed the hatch and pushed it open. The landscape was bleak, a desolate expanse of gray and brown rock, devoid of any life. My heart sank as I stepped out, scanning the horizon for any sign of civilization, but there was none. Just an empty world, cold and silent. "Is this really the best you could come up with?" Leo grumbled, stepping out behind me. "This place looks like a graveyard." "It's better than being caught by that thing," I shot back, trying to remain optimistic. Marcus followed, his face pale as he took in our surroundings. "What's our next step? We can't stay here forever." I looked to Jerk, who had stepped out last, their expression contemplative. "We need to find a way to contact other races, to warn them," I replied. "But first, we must fortify our position here. The entity will follow our trail." As we began to gather supplies from the escape pod, I felt the weight of our situation pressing down on me. We were a small band of survivors in a universe that had forgotten us, fighting against an ancient evil that had hunted my kind to the brink of extinction. But I refused to let despair consume us. We were humanity, and as long as we breathed, we would fight back. Night fell over the moon, and the sky turned a deep indigo, scattered with stars that shimmered like distant hopes. A chill settled in, but we made a fire, gathering around it to share our stories. "It's been generations since we had to fight like this," Leo admitted, staring into the flames. "We've grown soft, hiding in the shadows of our ancestors' mistakes." "Then let's make new mistakes," Marcus replied, a hint of determination in his voice. "We need to be proactive. We have knowledge, technology, we can fight back." "What do you suggest?" Jerk interjected, their eyes glinting with curiosity. I leaned forward, feeling a spark ignite within me. "We need to build a signal. Something powerful enough to reach the other races and warn them. If we can gather an alliance, we may stand a chance." The group fell silent, considering my words. "It won't be easy," Leo cautioned. "We're in the middle of nowhere, and resources are scarce." "Then we'll use what we have," I replied, my voice firm. "We're not giving up. Not now." A sense of camaraderie began to form among us, a bond forged in the fires of desperation. We were survivors, and together, we would face the darkness. As the night deepened, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. An instinctual shiver crawled down my spine, but I pushed it aside. Whatever hunted us would find only the remnants of a dying race. I would ensure that we stood tall, no matter the odds. Jerk's scream echoed in my ears, a haunting sound swallowed by the crushing silence that followed. The darkness consumed them, leaving no trace, no lingering light, no ashes, just gone. I kept running, Leo's iron grip on my arm urging me forward, even as my mind struggled to process the loss. We couldn't stop, couldn't grieve. We were still alive, and as long as we were, the fight wasn't over. The landscape blurred around us as we sprinted, adrenaline the only thing keeping me on my feet. My heart pounded in my chest, the air burned in my lungs, but there was no time to slow down. Marcus was a few paces ahead, his gaze fixed on the distant mountains, a possible escape route. Leo remained by my side, his jaw clenched, determined not to lose anyone else. But I couldn't stop thinking about Jerk. One moment they had been with us, and the next, gone. Their death felt like a harsh reminder of just how fragile we all were. Even after 100,000 years, after all the evolution, survival, and technological advancements, we were still running from something we didn't understand. The darkness wasn't just some force of nature, it was worse. It was a predator. We reached the base of the mountains, the towering cliffs casting shadows over us as we searched for a path that could offer even a momentary reprieve from the encroaching void. "There," Marcus called out, pointing to a narrow ravine that sliced through the rock like a jagged wound. "We can make it through. The walls should give us some cover." Leo didn't hesitate. He grabbed Marcus by the shoulder and pushed him toward the ravine. "Go, I'll cover the rear." I was about to argue, to tell him that we needed to stick together, but Leo's expression silenced me. There was no time for debate. We had to trust each other. I followed Marcus into the ravine, the cold stone walls pressing in on us as we scrambled over jagged rocks and loose gravel. The further we went, the darker it became, until the only light came from the faint glow of Marcus's wrist console. The air grew thin, damp, and suffocating as we delved deeper into the passage. Behind us, I heard Leo's steady footfalls, his rifle at the ready, eyes scanning for any sign of pursuit. The darkness was still out there, somewhere, but for the moment it seemed to have paused, or maybe it was waiting. We pressed on, our movements cautious but quick, the oppressive silence broken only by the occasional sound of shifting rocks. It was disorienting. The world outside had been vast and open, while this place was suffocatingly close. After what felt like hours, we emerged into a small, open cavern. The walls were slick with moisture, and strange phosphorescent fungi glowed faintly from the cracks in the stone. It wasn't much, but it was shelter, and for now, it was safe. Marcus collapsed against the wall, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. We made it," he panted, his voice barely above a whisper. Leo stood near the entrance to the cavern, keeping watch, his rifle still in hand. His expression was hard, unreadable. I leaned against the wall, my legs trembling from exhaustion. My mind raced, trying to figure out our next move. But it felt like the ground had shifted beneath me, like everything we thought we knew had been shattered by the events of the last few hours. "We can't stay here forever," I said after a long silence. "The darkness will find us eventually. We need a plan." Leo grunted, his eyes still on the entrance. "We need a miracle, Adam. That's what we need." Marcus wiped the sweat from his brow, his hands shaking slightly. "Maybe there's a way to fight it," he muttered, more to himself than to us. "I've been thinking, what if it's not just some mindless force? What if it's something we can outsmart?" I looked at him, my brow furrowing. "Outsmart? Marcus, it's eaten entire worlds. What are you thinking?" Marcus hesitated, his gaze flicking between me and Leo. "It's just a theory, but what if the darkness is reacting to us, like a predator to prey? Maybe it's not some all-powerful force, maybe it has weaknesses we haven't figured out yet." Leo scoffed. "Weaknesses? It devoured Jerk like they were nothing. We can't fight it. Our best chance is to keep running and hope someone out there picks up our signal." "Hope isn't a plant, Leo," Marcus shot back, frustration bleeding into his voice. "If we keep running, we'll tire out eventually. We need to think of something else." I rubbed my temples, trying to stay focused. Marcus had a point, but so did Leo. Running wasn't going to save us forever, but we didn't know enough about the darkness to fight it. For now, all we had was survival. We need information, I said, cutting through their argument. If we're going to stand a chance, we need to know what we're up against. How? Leo asked, his voice tight with skepticism. It's not like the thing's going to sit down and tell us its life story. No, I agreed. But maybe there's someone out there who knows more. We've sent out our message. If there are other survivors, other species, they might have information. All we can do is wait. Leo's jaw clenched, but he didn't argue. He knew as well as I did that we were grasping at straws. Marcus sat back against the wall, his gaze distant. What if no one's left? What if we're the last ones? The silence that followed was suffocating. It was a thought none of us wanted to entertain, but it had been gnawing at the back of my mind since the moment we sent that message. What if there was no one left to hear it? We're not alone, I said, forcing the words out. We can't be. But even as I said it, doubt gnawed at me. I had no way of knowing if we were truly the last remnants of humanity, or if there was anyone left in the galaxy who would care. The minutes ticked by in silence, each one stretching longer than the last. The cavern felt colder now, the walls closing in. Outside, the void of the galaxy awaited, and somewhere within it, the darkness lurked, biding its time. Finally, Leo broke the silence. We should take shifts, rest while we can. If that thing comes for us, we need to be ready. Marcus nodded, though he looked far from ready for anything. He was still shaken, the events of the last few days weighing heavily on him. Leo and I weren't much better, but we couldn't afford to fall apart now. I took the first watch, standing at the mouth of the cavern and staring out into the inky blackness. The stars twinkled faintly in the distance, a reminder of the vastness of space and the sheer scale of what we were facing. But for the first time in my life, those stars didn't bring me any comfort. They felt distant, cold, indifferent to our plight. As the others settled into uneasy sleep, I kept my eyes on the horizon, waiting for the darkness to return. Because I knew, deep down, that it wasn't over. Not yet. Time became slippery, stretching thin as we waited in the cavern. The stars in the distance flickered, but they felt further away than ever. Leo's words rang in my ears about needing a miracle, and I wasn't sure if even one of those could save us now. Marcus finally stirred from his restless sleep, his face pale and gaunt under the soft glow of the fungi. His eyes darted around the cavern as if expecting the darkness to materialize out of the very walls. "How long have I been out?" he asked, his voice thick with sleep. "Not long," I replied, though I had no real sense of time anymore. "Get some more rest. I'll take the next shift." He rubbed his eyes, blinking against the harsh reality we were trapped in. "I can't sleep," he muttered. Not after Jerk." Neither of us wanted to talk about what happened back there, but it was impossible to push from our minds. Jerk was gone, like so many before, consumed by something beyond our understanding. Leo had drifted into a light sleep, though his grip on his rifle never loosened. Even in sleep, he was ready to fight, ready to protect whatever was left of us. Marcus scooted over to the cavern's entrance beside me, leaning against the wall, staring out into the endless expanse. "Adam," he said after a long silence, "do you think they ever saw it coming? Earth, I mean. When it all started, did they know the end was coming?" I sighed. It wasn't a question I had an answer to. Maybe some did. Humanity's always been good at looking the other way, thinking they had more time. But it doesn't matter now. He was quiet again, lost in his thoughts. But I could feel the tension building, his mind racing for something, some explanation or answer that would make sense of all of this. "The darkness," Marcus said quietly, as though speaking its name would summon it. "It's not just some cosmic anomaly, is it? It feels like it's alive." I didn't answer right away. The idea had been festering in the back of my mind too. It wasn't just the way it moved, the way it seemed to hunt us, it was something more. Predatory, as if it had a will, a hunger. "It doesn't act like anything we've seen before," I admitted. "We don't know what it wants. Maybe it doesn't even know what it wants." Marcus shifted, his face drawn into a grimace. It's been consuming planets, civilizations. All we've seen are ruins left in its wake. But what if that's not the end of the story? What if it's taking something from them? Absorbing them in some way? I looked at him, my stomach twisting. What are you saying? I'm saying, Marcus said slowly, that if we don't figure out how to stop it, it might not just kill us, it might become us. The implications of his words hung heavy in the air. What if that was why no one else had been able to stop it? What if, by the time they realized what was happening, they were already part of it? I felt a chill run down my spine, not from the cold, but from the sheer horror of it. Marcus leaned forward, his voice lowering to a whisper. What if that's why we haven't heard back from anyone? Maybe the darkness isn't just devouring civilizations, maybe it's silencing them. The silence after that statement was deafening. The weight of it was unbearable. If that was true, then all our hopes of finding help, of sending our message into the stars, might be pointless. Every other species that had faced the darkness could already be part of it. But that couldn't be right. We had to believe that someone was still out there, still fighting. Otherwise, what was the point? Suddenly, Leo stirred from his sleep, sitting up sharply, his eyes instantly alert. Something's coming, he growled, his grip tightening on his rifle. I froze, listening. There was no sound, no sign of movement. But Leo had that uncanny sense about him, the same instinct that had kept us alive through all the horrors we'd faced. Without a word, we all stood, weapons ready, our eyes fixed on the entrance to the cavern. And then I felt a faint vibration under my feet. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but it was growing stronger by the second. My heart pounded in my chest as I exchanged a glance with Leo and Marcus. "What is it?" Marcus whispered, his voice trembling. Leo didn't answer. He was too focused on the entrance, his posture tense. I could see the sweat beading on his forehead, the strain in his muscles. Whatever was coming, it wasn't friendly. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. A faint, swirling tendril of darkness creeping along the wall, like smoke moving against the laws of nature. It was small, almost delicate, but it was unmistakable. The darkness had found us. "Move," Leo barked, pushing us toward the far end of the cavern. But there was nowhere to run. We were trapped. The darkness slithered closer, more tendrils appearing, curling around the edges of the cavern like fingers reaching for prey. "Adam, get your weapon ready," Leo shouted, his voice hard and commanding. "We hold the line here." Marcus fumbled with his weapon, his hand shaking. It's too close. We can't stop it." "We don't have a choice," I snapped, raising my rifle and aiming at the creeping tendrils. "We fight, or we die." But deep down, I knew it wasn't enough. Our weapons were designed to kill enemies we could see, flesh and blood opponents. This was something else entirely, and yet we had no other options. Leo fired the first shot, the energy blast striking the tendril dead on. For a moment, the darkness recoiled, twisting and writhing as though in pain. But then it surged forward, faster and more aggressive. I fired next, my pulse hammering in my ears as the shots tore into the tendrils. They flinched, but they didn't stop. Marcus followed suit, his shots wild and erratic, but at least they hit their mark. For a brief moment, I allowed myself to hope that we might hold it off, that we could survive this. But then the darkness shifted. It coiled tighter, gathering itself into a dense mass before lunging forward, faster than any of us could react. I felt something cold wrap around my leg, a tendril. Panic shot through me, and I fired wildly, trying to free myself, but the tendril only tightened, pulling me toward the heart of the darkness. "Adam!" Leo shouted, rushing to my side, his rifle blazing. But the more he fired, the more the tendrils multiplied. I could feel it now, the cold seeping into my skin, into my bones. It wasn't just pulling me physically, it was pulling at something deeper, something inside me. My thoughts, my memories, my very sense of self felt like they were slipping away, unraveling into the void. In that moment, I understood what Marcus had feared. The darkness wasn't just killing us. It was consuming us. Leo grabbed my arm, pulling with all his strength, but it was no use. The darkness was stronger. "Run," I gasped, my vision blurring as the tendrils wrapped tighter around me. "You have to." I didn't finish the sentence. The darkness swallowed me whole. I felt nothing. No weight, no form, just a void. There was no light, no sound, no sense of direction. It was as if the universe itself had blinked out of existence, leaving me suspended in an empty expanse. But slowly, as the numbness wore off, I became aware of something pulling, not physically, but mentally. Memories, thoughts, emotions, they all began to sift through my mind like sand through my fingers, slipping away into the darkness. My life flashed before me, but not in the way people talk about near-death experiences. No, it was different. Fragmented, disjointed. Bits and pieces of who I was scattered and torn away, leaving only the faintest impressions. I clung to the moments I could grasp: my childhood in the colony, the long days training with Marcus and Leo, the cold nights spent staring up at the stars, wondering what lay beyond them. But the more I tried to hold on to those memories, the more the darkness pulled them away. It was hungry, relentless, consuming everything that made me me. Panic set in. This wasn't just death. This was erasure. Obliteration on a level I couldn't comprehend. It wasn't just taking my life, it was taking me. But then, in the midst of that terror, something changed. A spark, a flicker of resistance, deep within my mind. It was faint, barely noticeable, but it was there. And as I focused on it, the void around me seemed to shift, just slightly. I wasn't alone in here. It was faint, like a distant echo, but I could hear it. Voices, not human, but familiar. A chorus of whispers, overlapping, merging, rising and falling in the void. And they were calling out, pleading. "Run." At first, I thought it was the message we had sent, echoing back through the void. But no, this was something else. These were the voices of those who had come before us. The civilizations that had been consumed by the darkness. They were trying to warn me, trying to warn anyone who would listen. But how? How could they exist within the void, if the darkness had taken everything from them? And then I realized they didn't exist. Not anymore. They were only echoes. Faint impressions left behind by minds and souls that had been consumed long ago. They weren't warning me, they were screaming into the abyss, lost forever. A new kind of dread crept over me. The darkness didn't just take lives, it absorbed the very essence of the beings it devoured, leaving nothing behind but these faint, desperate cries. I fought to pull myself free, to cling to whatever part of my mind was still mine. But the pull was relentless, and I could feel myself slipping. Run. The word echoed louder now, more insistent. But I couldn't run. I was trapped here, bound to the void. And if I didn't find a way out soon, I would become just another voice in the darkness. Suddenly, the void around me shifted again. I could feel something stirring, like a current in a vast, unseen ocean. The tendrils of darkness that had wrapped around me tightened, but they didn't drag me further into the void. Instead, they began to pull me back. I didn't understand. Why was it letting me go? But as I was dragged through the void, I realized something else. I wasn't being let go. I was being reclaimed. The darkness wasn't done with me, it was taking me somewhere. My vision blurred, and for a moment, everything was a swirling mass of shadows. Then, with a sharp jolt, I was back. The cavern walls came into focus, the faint glow of the fungi casting long shadows across the ground. The air was thick and oppressive, and I could feel the weight of the darkness all around me. But I was alive. Somehow, I had been returned. Leo was there, standing over me, his face etched with a mixture of relief and horror. His rifle was still in his hands, and he looked ready to fire at any moment. "Adam," he breathed, his voice hoarse. "You're alive." I sat up, my limbs heavy and sluggish, my head spinning. It felt like I had been gone for hours, but when I looked around, I realized nothing had changed. The darkness still pressed in on us, and Marcus was still standing at the entrance, his weapon raised. "I don't know how you did it," Leo said, crouching down beside me. "But you came back." I didn't have the words to explain what had happened. I wasn't even sure I understood it myself. But one thing was clear: the darkness hadn't killed me. Not yet. "Something's changed," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Leo frowned. "What do you mean?" I struggled to my feet, my legs unsteady beneath me. "It didn't just try to consume me. It was testing me. It wants something." Marcus glanced over his shoulder, his expression grim. "What could it possibly want from us?" I shook my head. "I don't know, but it didn't take me like it took Jerk. It's—" Before I could finish, a low rumble echoed through the cavern. The ground trembled beneath our feet, and the walls groaned as if under immense pressure. The darkness around us seemed to pulse, growing thicker, more oppressive. "It's coming back," Leo said, his grip tightening on his rifle. "Whatever you did, it's not done with us." The rumble grew louder, and I could feel the air around us shift. The darkness wasn't just creeping toward us now, it was converging, gathering itself into something more. Something physical. A shadowy form began to take shape at the entrance of the cavern, a mass of swirling black tendrils that twisted and writhed in the dim light. It was massive, towering over us, its form constantly shifting, as if it couldn't decide what shape to take. But its presence was unmistakable. The darkness had a will, a consciousness, and it was standing right in front of us. "Leo," I said, my voice trembling, "we need to move. Now." But before we could react, the shadow lunged forward, its tendrils stretching out to engulf us. I raised my weapon, firing wildly into the mass of darkness. The shots hit, but they didn't slow it down. The tendrils surged forward, wrapping around me once again, pulling me toward the shadow. "Adam," Leo shouted, firing at the tendrils, but his shots had little effect. The coldness returned, seeping into my skin, into my mind. But this time, I wasn't helpless. I had seen into the darkness. I had felt its pull, and I knew what it wanted. It didn't just want to consume us. It wanted to understand us. And if we didn't find a way to stop it, it would succeed. I wasn't going to let it take me again. The pull of the darkness around my limbs was stronger now, more determined, like it had found the key it needed to unravel me. But I wasn't the same as before. The brief glimpse I'd had within the void gave me an edge, a faint understanding of what the shadow wanted, how it thought. It was alien, incomprehensible in many ways, but there were pieces that clicked. This thing wasn't a mindless force. It was probing, learning, adapting. The others hadn't been taken purely by accident or brute force. It was systematically breaking them down. And it was about to do the same to me. "Adam, hold on." Leo's voice cut through the haze, his rifle spitting rounds into the tendrils. But the shadow shrugged off the impacts, its form shifting and recoiling with fluid motion. The blasts felt like pebbles being tossed at an ocean. Marcus, too, was firing at full throttle. He kept shouting orders, trying to keep control of the situation, but we were outmatched. We had been ever since we stepped foot on this planet. "Cover me," I shouted, my mind racing as I wrestled with the tendrils. "Don't shoot the damn thing, shoot the ceiling." "What?" Leo looked at me like I'd lost my mind, but I didn't have time to explain. "Do it," I growled, fighting the tightening grip around my chest. "Bring the roof down." There was a moment's hesitation before Marcus reacted. His eyes flickered toward the jagged rock formations above us. He didn't ask questions, just nodded sharply and switched his aim upward. The rapid bursts from his weapon shattered the silence as rounds slammed into the ceiling, sending chunks of rock tumbling down. The cavern groaned, the structural integrity buckling under the barrage. I could feel the vibrations in the ground beneath my feet as fractures spread through the stone, cracks racing across the walls like lightning. Dust and debris began to rain down, coating the air in a thick haze. The shadow roared not with sound, but with a mental pressure that slammed into me like a wave. It was angry, agitated by our sudden assault. Its tendrils faltered, pulling back slightly as more of the cavern roof began to collapse, forcing it to dodge the debris. It gave me just enough slack to move. I wrenched myself free from the shadow's grip, diving out of the way as a large chunk of rock came crashing down where I had just been standing. My heart pounded in my chest, my vision swimming from the adrenaline, but I couldn't stop. Not yet. "Keep hitting it," I shouted, scrambling to my feet. "We need to bring the whole thing down." Leo and Marcus fired relentlessly, the thunderous crack of their rifles blending with the rumble of the collapsing ceiling. More and more debris fell, the cavern itself trembling under the assault. The air was thick with dust and the stench of burning rock, but through it all I could see the shadow struggling. It twisted and writhed, trying to maintain its form as pieces of the cavern rained down upon it. For a moment, I thought we had it. The sheer weight of the collapsing stone seemed to be forcing the shadow back, pushing it away from us. But then, as if in defiance, the shadow surged forward once more, its form boiling with rage. It was relentless, an unstoppable force that would not be denied. My stomach clenched. This wasn't going to work. The shadow was too powerful, too vast. Even if we brought the entire cavern down, it wouldn't be enough to stop it. "We have to get out of here," I shouted, backing away from the growing mass of darkness. "It's not enough." Leo swore under his breath, his eyes darting toward the only exit, the narrow passageway that led deeper into the mountain. It was barely wide enough for us to fit through, and there was no telling where it would lead, but we didn't have a choice. "Go," Marcus barked, his voice sharp with authority. "I'll cover you." I hesitated for a split second. "You can't stay." "Just go, Adam," he growled, unloading another volley of rounds into the ceiling. "That's an order." Leo grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the passage. "He's right. We need to move." I gritted my teeth, but there was no time to argue. I followed Leo into the passage, the narrow tunnel closing in around us as we scrambled through the dark. The sound of collapsing rock and Marcus's rifle echoed behind us, growing fainter with each step. I hated leaving him, but survival was the only option. The passage twisted and turned, the walls pressing in closer as we ran. The air was hot and stifling, thick with dust and the lingering scent of the shadow. My legs burned, my chest heaved, but I pushed on, fueled by adrenaline and the gnawing fear of what lay behind us. Finally, the passage opened up into a small chamber, barely large enough for the two of us to stand. I collapsed against the wall, gasping for breath, my mind racing. Leo crouched beside me, his face pale and slick with sweat. "We need a plan. Fast." I nodded, trying to gather my thoughts. We couldn't fight the shadow directly, it was too powerful, too adaptable. But there had to be a way to stop it, something it hadn't accounted for. Then it hit me. "The beacon," I said, my voice hoarse. "The emergency beacon on the ship. If we can reach it, we can send out a signal. Maybe, just maybe, the fleet can pick it up and come for us." Leo frowned. "Even if we get to the ship, how do we know they'll respond? And what if the shadow follows us?" I shook my head. "It doesn't matter. We have to try. If we stay here, we're dead. If we can get to the ship and get that signal out, at least we have a chance." Leo hesitated, but he knew I was right. We had no other option. "All right," he said, rising to his feet. "Let's move. We don't have much time." I pushed myself up, my muscles aching, and followed Leo out of the chamber. The passageway continued to wind deeper into the mountain, the darkness growing thicker with every step. I could feel it pressing in around us, like the shadow itself was stalking us, waiting for its moment to strike. But we kept moving. There was no going back. We had one chance, and we were going to take it. We ran. The walls of the passage squeezed in around us, jagged rocks scraping our shoulders as the faint glow from our suits' emergency lights flickered. My breath came in ragged gasps, each one a reminder of how close we'd come to being devoured by that thing. Leo was just ahead of me, his pace steady despite the exhaustion I knew he was feeling too. There was no sound behind us, no indication that the shadow was following, but that didn't mean it wasn't. I knew better than to assume we were safe. "I hope you've got a good sense of direction," Leo muttered, his voice tight. "Because if we get lost down here—" "We won't," I replied, though I wasn't entirely sure. The maps we had of the terrain were rough at best, barely enough to navigate by. But if we kept heading downward, there was a chance we'd emerge close to the ship. A slim chance, but better than nothing. The passage twisted again, and suddenly the air felt cooler. I slowed, trying to figure out why. Leo noticed too, glancing back at me with a questioning look. Then we rounded the next bend, and the reason became clear. The tunnel opened up into a vast cavern, the ceiling so high it disappeared into the gloom. A faint breeze stirred the air, carrying with it the scent of something. Fresh? No, it was too ancient to be called fresh, but it was different. Natural, like the air from the surface had found its way down here, untouched for millennia. But it wasn't just the air that caught my attention. In the center of the cavern, nestled against a backdrop of dark stone, stood a massive structure. It was ancient, far older than anything human hands had built, yet unmistakably artificial. Its surface was smooth, almost polished, but it glowed faintly with an internal light, pulsing in rhythmic intervals. "What the hell is that?" Leo whispered, his voice hushed as though speaking too loudly would wake it. I didn't answer immediately. My eyes traced the lines of the structure, my mind trying to piece together what I was seeing. It wasn't like anything we'd encountered before, not even in the deepest ruins left by long-dead alien civilizations. This was something else. "It's not human," I finally said, my voice barely audible. "Yeah, I figured that," Leo replied, stepping closer to the edge of the cavern. He crouched down, studying the ground as if trying to find tracks or some sign of life. "But who built it? And why is it still active?" "I don't know." I could feel the weight of the structure pressing down on me, a sense of dread that gnawed at the back of my mind. The shadow hadn't been the first danger we'd encountered here. There was something deeper, something that went beyond the immediate threats, and whatever this was, it felt connected. I stepped closer to the structure, drawn by the soft light emanating from its core. There were no visible controls, no doors or openings, just a seamless surface that hummed with energy. My mind raced, trying to think of any ancient race capable of such construction, but nothing added up. This place was a mystery buried under layers of time, one we didn't have the luxury of solving right now. "We should keep moving," Leo said, his voice breaking through my thoughts. He was right. As much as I wanted to study the thing, to understand it, we didn't have time. The shadow was still out there, waiting, watching, and the longer we stayed, the more likely it was to catch up. Reluctantly, I turned away from the structure and gestured for Leo to follow. "Let's go. The ship isn't far." We crossed the cavern quickly, our footsteps echoing faintly in the vast emptiness. Every now and then, I glanced back at the glowing structure, half expecting it to react, to come alive and trap us in this ancient place. But it remained still, its pulsing light the only sign that it was anything more than a monument to a forgotten age. As we reached the far side of the cavern, the ground sloped upward, the passage narrowing once more. The air grew warmer, more oppressive, and I could hear the faint rumble of the outside world. We were close. Then the tremor hit. The ground beneath us shuddered violently, throwing me off balance. I staggered, barely managing to stay on my feet as the walls around us groaned in protest. Rocks fell from the ceiling, clattering against the stone floor, and a deafening crack echoed through the tunnel. "Go, go," Leo shouted, grabbing my arm and pulling me forward as another tremor shook the earth. The tunnel behind us began to collapse, the sound of falling rock growing louder with each passing second. We sprinted toward the light at the end of the passage, my legs burning with the effort. The ship was just beyond the exit. I could see it now, nestled among the jagged rocks of the surface. It wasn't much an old freighter we'd salvaged from the wrecks, but it was enough to get us off this cursed planet. The final tremor hit just as we reached the mouth of the tunnel. The ground heaved violently, and I was thrown forward, crashing into the dirt as the tunnel behind us collapsed in a cloud of dust and debris. Leo tumbled beside me, coughing as he pushed himself up, his face streaked with dirt and sweat. For a moment, we just lay there, gasping for breath. The ship loomed above us, its rusted hull a stark contrast to the desolation around us. We'd made it. Barely. But we weren't safe yet. I forced myself to my feet, my legs trembling with exhaustion. "Get the beacon online," I said, stumbling toward the ship. "We need that signal out now." Leo nodded, already moving toward the access hatch. He keyed in the code, and the door slid open with a hiss. The ship groaned as we entered, the interior dimly lit by flickering lights. It was barely functional, but it would do. We made our way to the cockpit, the controls coated in a fine layer of dust. Leo slid into the pilot's seat, his fingers flying across the console as he brought the systems online. The ship hummed to life, the engines sputtering as they struggled to power up. I leaned against the wall, watching the display screens flicker on one by one. The beacon was the priority, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something else was coming. The tremors, the collapsing tunnel, it wasn't natural. The planet was trying to bury us, to keep us from escaping. But we weren't going to let it. Leo activated the emergency beacon, the signal flashing on the display. It was weak, barely enough to reach beyond the atmosphere, but it was something. If the fleet was anywhere nearby, they'd pick it up. "We're online," Leo said, his voice tight with concentration. "Now we wait." I nodded, my eyes scanning the barren landscape outside the cockpit. The shadow hadn't followed us. Not yet. But I knew it was out there, waiting for its moment. The ship shuddered again, the tremors growing stronger. We didn't have much time. The ship trembled beneath us, but the engines whined to life at Leo's command. We had to trust that the distress signal would reach the fleet, but it wasn't just a waiting game anymore. The tremors rattling through the planet were growing worse, as if something deep below was stirring. I couldn't stop thinking about that structure we'd passed. Whatever ancient power had built it had left a mark on this planet, and it felt like the planet was coming undone. We needed to escape before it buried us. "Engines at 30%, Leo said, his fingers moving deftly across the controls. "That'll have to be enough to get us off the surface." "Just get us up," I replied, gripping the edge of the console for balance. "I don't care how rough it is." He didn't argue, and the ship lurched as we began to lift off. The thrusters roared, fighting against the planet's gravity, and I could feel the weight of the ship resisting, like something was holding us down. Dust and rocks kicked up from the ground as we ascended, the freighter shaking like it was about to come apart. Then, with a final burst of energy, we broke free. The jagged landscape of the planet shrank below us, the cracks and fissures in the earth like scars on its surface. I glanced out the viewport, my heart pounding in my chest. We'd made it out, for now. Leo leveled the ship as we cleared the atmosphere, the oppressive heat and pressure fading as we entered the cool, endless void of space. The stars glittered beyond the viewport, cold and distant, but somehow more comforting than the chaos we'd just escaped. "Any signs of the fleet?" I asked, my voice tight with anticipation. "Nothing yet," Leo muttered, his eyes scanning the readouts. "We're still too close to the planet. Give it a minute." The ship hummed softly as we drifted in orbit, but that hum felt like the ticking of a clock. We had a window to get out of here before whatever was happening down there reached space, but it was closing fast. I kept glancing at the scanners, hoping no, willing our fleet to appear. Seconds stretched into agonizing minutes. Then the scanners pinged. "I've got something," Leo snapped upright, his eyes wide. "It's faint, but it's moving fast." I leaned forward, my heart racing. "Is it one of ours?" He didn't answer immediately, his fingers tapping furiously as he adjusted the scanners. It's not human." "Wait, I've got multiple signatures. They're heading right for us." A cold weight settled in my gut. "How close?" "Too close." His voice was flat, grim. "We've got maybe a minute before they're on us." The scanners lit up like a fireworks display, dozens of blips converging on our location. Alien ships, and they were closing in fast. "We're sitting ducks," I muttered, glancing at Leo. "Can we outrun them?" "Not a chance," he replied, shaking his head. "Our engines can barely keep us in orbit. If they lock onto us, we're done." A knot tightened in my chest as I considered our options or lack thereof. We had one last shot, one last desperate play. "Boost the signal," I ordered. "Send out everything we've got. If there's a human ship out there, we need them to find us now." Leo nodded, his hands moving quickly over the controls. The emergency beacon flared on the screen, pulsing with increased intensity. I could hear the faint hum of the ship's systems straining to amplify the signal, but it was all or nothing at this point. "They're almost on us," Leo said through gritted teeth. 30 seconds. I felt the pressure building in my chest. We were cornered, no chance to run, no hope of fighting back. But we wouldn't go down quietly. "They'll pick up the signal," I said, more to myself than to him. "They have to." The ship's comm system crackled suddenly, a burst of static that made us both jump. Then a voice, faint but unmistakable. "Hold your position, Scorpio. We're inbound." My heart leaped. "That's one of ours." Leo's eyes widened, a spark of hope lighting in his expression. About damn time. The alien ships were closing fast, their sleek, predatory shapes emerging on the display. But they weren't alone anymore. The faint signatures of our fleet battle-hardened human warships were sweeping in from the edge of the system. Reinforcements. "We're not alone," I muttered, my fingers gripping the console as the tension began to lift. "We're not alone." The lead alien ships fired first, beams of energy streaking toward us. But before they could reach, a barrage of human firepower erupted from the darkness. Our ships broke through the enemy line like a hammer, scattering the alien vessels with precision strikes. "Brace for impact," Leo warned, steering the ship into a defensive role as debris from the alien fleet began to shower the surrounding space. Our ship rocked with the force of a near miss, but we held steady, shielded by the onslaught of firepower from our fleet. The alien ships, fast as they were, couldn't withstand the human counterattack. One by one, they fell, exploding into brilliant bursts of light as our warships tore through them. It was over in minutes, a decisive rout. As the last alien ship disintegrated, the comms crackled to life again. "Scorpio, this is Vanguard 1. You're clear. Prepare for retrieval." Relief flooded through me. We'd made it. Leo let out a long breath, sinking back into his seat. "Damn," he muttered. "We really need to stop tempting fate like this." I laughed, though it was shaky. "I don't think fate had anything to do with it. That was just pure luck." The Vanguard 1 appeared on the display, its massive silhouette blotting out the stars as it approached. It was a sight for sore eyes, the heavy cruiser's armored hull gleaming in the starlight. Rescue at last. As we docked with the cruiser, the familiar sounds of a human ship enveloped me, the hum of the engines, the steady rhythm of human footsteps, the soft murmur of voices over the intercom. We were home, or at least as close as we could get to it. But even as I stepped off the freighter and onto the Vanguard 1's deck, I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't over. The planet, the structure, there were still too many unanswered questions. Something bigger was at play, something ancient and dangerous. And I had the sinking feeling that we'd only just begun to scratch the surface. Stepping onto the deck of the Vanguard 1 felt like taking my first breath after drowning. The familiar cold air, the rhythmic hum of the engines beneath my feet, and the sight of the crew tough, battle-hardened faces were enough to pull me back from the edge of exhaustion. But there was something else, an unspoken tension in the air. Everyone knew we had escaped something far worse than a firefight. Leo stepped beside me, cracking his neck and rolling his shoulders, trying to shake off the stress of our near-death experience. "You think we'll ever get a break?" he muttered. I shook my head. "Not if that planet has anything to say about it. There's something down there, Leo. Something ancient." He frowned. "You think that's what destroyed Earth?" I didn't answer right away. The idea had crossed my mind more than once, but it was almost too much to grasp. Earth's destruction was a mystery, always had been. But after what we saw, it was hard to shake the feeling that we were circling closer to the truth, and that truth wasn't something we were prepared to handle. The captain of the Vanguard 1, a tall, grizzled veteran named Captain Ortega, strode toward us, his boots echoing on the metal floor. He stopped in front of me, his sharp eyes scanning me from head to toe. "Glad to see you made it out, Commander," he said, his voice gruff but not unkind. "Glad to be out, Captain," I replied, "but I don't think we've seen the last of it." Ortega's jaw tightened. "That planet, our scanners picked up some odd readings just before you broke orbit. The surface is destabilizing. Massive seismic activity." "It's not just the surface," I said, my mind racing as I pieced it together. "There's something beneath the planet. Something ancient. We passed a structure alien tech, old as hell, and it looked alive." Ortega frowned. "Alive? Or something close to it. I don't know how to describe it, but whatever it was, it felt wrong, like the planet was waking up." The captain's gaze darkened, and I could tell he didn't like where this was going. "We've been chasing ghosts for centuries, Commander. Earth's destruction, the anomalies we keep encountering, none of it adds up. But if what you're saying is true, then we've just kicked a hornet's nest." I nodded, my chest tightening with the weight of what I was about to suggest. "We need to investigate further. If there's any chance that this is connected to Earth, we can't let it slip away." Ortega was silent for a long moment, his eyes scanning the viewport where the planet still loomed, shrouded in dark clouds and seismic storms. "We're not equipped for a deep investigation," he said finally. "And whatever's down there, it's far beyond our understanding." "Then we call in the heavy hitters," I said. "The research fleet, the science teams. They've been combing the galaxy for answers for centuries. If anyone can crack this, it's them." He sighed, rubbing a hand across his stubbled jaw. "I'll make the call, but you know what this means, right? If we start digging into this, we might not like what we find." "I'm counting on it," I said grimly. "But we can't keep running from the past. If this is connected to Earth's destruction, it's not just our mystery anymore. It's the galaxy's." Ortega gave me a long, hard look before nodding. "You're right. We'll pull the research fleet in, but until they get here, I want you and your team on standby. No heroics. This thing has already swallowed one planet. I don't want it taking any more of us." "Understood," I replied, though my mind was already racing ahead. We had to know what was down there. As the captain turned to give his orders, Leo leaned in close, his voice low. "You really think we're ready for this?" I stared out at the planet, the shadows of its surface swirling like a great beast waking from slumber. "No, but we don't have a choice." It didn't take long for the research fleet to arrive, 3 massive ships, bristling with scanning equipment and staffed by some of the finest scientific minds in the human fleet. The moment they docked with the Vanguard 1, we were briefed and prepped for the mission. I led a small team back down to the planet, this time with more advanced gear, better intel, and the backing of the entire fleet. The descent was eerily quiet. Unlike our frantic escape, this time we were returning deliberately, with purpose. But the tension was worse somehow, as if we all knew that what we were about to uncover would change everything. When we touched down near the structure, the seismic activity had worsened. The ground trembled beneath our feet, and cracks spiderwebbed across the landscape. The air was thick with dust and the acrid scent of sulfur, but it was the structure itself that drew our attention. It had grown. What had once been a dormant, almost decaying ruin now pulsed with energy. Its spires reached higher, the alien glyphs along its surface glowing faintly. It was as if the planet itself was channeling energy into the structure, feeding it. Leo scanned the structure, his face pale as he studied the readings. "This thing, it's drawing power from the planet. It's alive, Commander. More alive than it was before." I swallowed hard. "Then we're running out of time. We need to get inside." Our team approached the structure cautiously, weapons drawn, though I doubted they would do much good. There was no telling what we would find inside, but I knew we couldn't turn back now. This was the key to Earth's destruction. I could feel it in my bones. As we neared the entrance, the air hummed with energy, the very ground vibrating beneath us. The structure seemed to be calling to us, pulling us in. Leo shot me a look. "You sure about this?" "Not even a little," I admitted, but we kept moving forward. The entrance loomed before us, a massive archway carved with alien symbols that glowed faintly. As we stepped inside, a wave of cold washed over me, and for a moment it felt like I was walking into the void itself. The interior of the structure was vast, cavernous, and filled with strange machinery, ancient tech that defied explanation. The walls pulsed with energy, and I could hear a faint humming, almost like breathing. "This place is a damn tomb," Leo muttered, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "But what's it for?" I approached one of the machines, its surface smooth and cold to the touch. My fingers traced the glyphs along its side, and suddenly the hum grew louder. The entire structure seemed to vibrate, and a deep, resonant voice filled the chamber, a voice that was not human. "You have come." We froze, weapons raised, but there was no source for the voice. It seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, from the very air. "Who's there?" I demanded, my heart pounding. The voice rumbled again, deep and ancient. "We are the architects of your destruction. We were there when your world burned, and now we will finish what we started." Leo's face went pale. "Commander, I think we've just woken up the enemy." The truth hit me like a blow to the gut. This wasn't just some ancient alien structure. This was a weapon that had destroyed Earth, and it was waking up. And we were standing in its heart. The cold realization of what we had just triggered settled over the team like a shroud. The structure around us, this ancient, breathing monstrosity, wasn't just alive. It was the enemy, the one that had obliterated Earth all those years ago, and now it was waking up again. "Commander, we need to get out of here." Leo's voice cracked through the rising hum, his panic barely contained. I didn't move. My eyes were locked on the pulsing, alien machinery, the deep glyphs glowing brighter with each passing second. That voice, that ancient, monstrous voice, reverberated inside my skull like a drumbeat. "We are the architects of your destruction." Leo grabbed my shoulder, snapping me back to the present. "Commander, now." I nodded, forcing myself to move. "Everyone, back to the ship. Go, go, go." We sprinted out of the structure, the ground beneath us trembling with increasing intensity. The planet was reacting to us, reacting to what we had awakened. The distant sounds of explosions, cracks ripping through the earth, filled the air as the seismic activity reached critical levels. The Vanguard 1 loomed in the distance, and I could see the ramp lowering as Ortega and his crew prepared for our return. My heart pounded in my chest as the sense of urgency gripped me. We had to escape before this planet tore itself apart. But just as we reached the clearing near our ship, the ground before us split wide open, a massive chasm yawning between us and salvation. A wave of heat and energy blasted upward, sending debris flying in all directions. "Damn it," Leo swore, skidding to a halt as we looked for another way around. "There," I pointed to a ridge off to the side. "We'll have to jump." Without waiting, I took off toward the ridge, my legs burning as I pushed myself to the limit. Leo and the others followed close behind, their footsteps pounding against the trembling ground. The heat from the chasm seared our skin, but we had no choice. Reaching the edge of the ridge, I didn't hesitate. I launched myself into the air, the ground beneath me falling away as I soared across the gap. Time seemed to slow, my mind racing with the weight of everything we had just discovered. Earth's destruction, the centuries of questions, the relentless pursuit of answers, it all came down to this moment. And if we failed now, humanity wouldn't get another chance. I hit the ground hard on the other side, rolling to absorb the impact. Leo landed beside me, gritting his teeth in pain, but we didn't stop. We couldn't afford to. The Vanguard 1 was just a few meters away now, its engines already roaring to life as Ortega prepared for an emergency liftoff. "Go, go, go," I shouted, waving the rest of the team forward. We scrambled up the ramp, the hull of the ship vibrating under the strain of the planet's escalating destruction. The last of our team made it aboard just as the ground behind us gave way, the chasm swallowing the landscape in a cataclysmic roar. "Close the hatch," Ortega's voice barked over the intercom, and within seconds, the ramp sealed shut. The ship lifted off, rising into the dark, roiling sky. Through the viewport, I could see the planet below convulsing, entire sections of its surface collapsing into itself. The structure we had explored was now fully visible from above, its spires rising impossibly high, crackling with energy as it fed off the planet's core. "What the hell is that thing?" Leo whispered, his face pale. I didn't answer. I couldn't. There were no words for the terror we had just unleashed. We had found the weapon that had destroyed Earth. But the worst part, we had no idea how to stop it. "Captain," I said, my voice shaking as I stepped toward Ortega, "we need to warn the fleet. This isn't just a planet, it's a weapon." Ortega's jaw tightened as he stared at the viewscreen. "Damn it, Commander! We've been chasing answers for 100,000 years, and now we find this. This thing destroyed Earth. And if we don't act fast, it'll do the same to the rest of the galaxy." Ortega cursed under his breath, slamming his fist against the console. "What do you suggest?" I took a deep breath, my mind racing through the possibilities. The structure was feeding off the planet's energy, its very life force. If we could destabilize it, cut off its power source, we might be able to stop it from activating fully. "Target the planet's core," I said finally. "If we can trigger a collapse before the weapon fully powers up, we might be able to bury it." Ortega looked at me like I had lost my mind. "You want to blow up the entire planet?" "It's either that or let it destroy everything," I said. "We don't have time for anything else." For a moment, the captain hesitated, his eyes scanning the rapidly deteriorating surface of the planet below. But then he nodded, his decision made. "All right, Commander, let's blow this thing to hell." The Vanguard 1 moved into position, its weapon systems primed and ready. The research fleet, still orbiting nearby, had been evacuated. They knew the stakes. We all did. "Target the core," Ortega ordered, his voice steady but grim. "Fire on my mark." The planet continued to convulse beneath us, its surface cracking and heaving as the ancient weapon drew more power. The spires of the structure glowed brighter, sending arcs of energy into the sky. "Commander," Leo said, his voice low, "this better work." "It will," I said, though I wasn't sure if I was trying to convince him or myself. "Fire." The ship's cannons roared, their energy beams slicing through the atmosphere and plunging deep into the planet's core. The ground below rippled with the force of the impact, the shockwaves spreading outward in all directions. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the entire planet shuddered. A deep, rumbling sound filled the air as the surface began to collapse in on itself. The spires of the alien structure flickered, their glow dimming as the power source was cut off. "We did it," Leo breathed. "We actually did it." But I wasn't so sure. As the planet crumbled beneath us, I caught one last glimpse of the structure, the weapon that had destroyed Earth. And for just a moment, I swore I saw something move within it. Something alive. We left the planet behind, its remains swallowed by the void of space. But the questions remained. What had we really found down there, and had we truly stopped it? As we drifted into the stars, the weight of the message humanity had left behind echoed in my mind, "Run." But this time, we weren't the ones running. We were the ones hunting. I often find myself drifting through the remnants of my memories, tender snapshots of a world that no longer exists. Earth, the cradle of humanity, now lies silent, a distant memory painted in shades of desolation and regret. I am no longer what I once was. I am a specter of my former self, an echo of humanity's greatness. Time has blurred my edges, transforming flesh and blood into a shimmering essence capable of traversing the cosmos, reaching minds across galaxies. The ancient sun, which once warmed the earth, has long since gone cold. I recall its light dancing upon the surface of oceans, the laughter of children playing in fields, and the vibrant hues of sunsets melting into the horizon. Those days are gone, replaced by a haunting emptiness. I exist in a world where memories are all that remain, tethered to the past by whispers of what we once were. I feel the presence of my kin, remnants of a civilization that achieved so much only to be reduced to whispers among the stars. Together, we weave a tapestry of thoughts, our telepathic connections resonating through the void. We share our stories, our fears, our hopes, and our warnings. Always the warning: run. The galaxy around us thrums with life, yet we remain hidden. Alien ships traverse the expanse, their hulls gleaming in the starlight, oblivious to our existence. They come in search of knowledge, power, and perhaps a fragment of humanity itself. We sense their intentions, their ambitions, and we know that their interest in us is dangerous. They seek to capture the essence of what we are, believing that our strength can be harnessed for their own gain. As I linger in this celestial limbo, I sense a disturbance, a gathering storm. The Zypherians, a race of cunning and ambition, have begun to conspire. Their council chambers are rife with discussions, plotting a course that could lead to our undoing. They are technologically advanced, masters of manipulation and strategy. They believe that by harnessing the remnants of humanity, they can achieve unparalleled power and dominance across the stars. It is in the shadow of their ambition that I meet my unlikely allies. The Grix, a proud warrior race known for their honor, seek to understand the nature of our message. The Nellurians, beings of deep empathy and emotion, sense the fear that binds us all. They gather around me, their forms shimmering with energy, forming a coalition of hope amid despair. Why do we send them this message? A Grix warrior, Thrax, asks, his voice resonating with an intensity that rattles my essence. What do we fear? I take a moment to gather my thoughts, sensing the collective curiosity of my allies. We warn them because we know what awaits them. The Zypherians will stop at nothing to bend us to their will. Our history is riddled with tales of suffering, and we must prevent them from repeating our mistakes. But what if they do not listen? A Nellurian named Luri muses, her voice laced with concern. What if they come anyway? I look into her light eyes, feeling the weight of her empathy. Then we must prepare them. We must teach them to recognize the dangers lurking in the shadows. Our coalition begins to form a plan, a strategy rooted in the hope that we can protect not only ourselves but the future of the galaxy. The Zypherians may believe they can capture us, but they do not know the resilience that resides within us. Our memories are not merely remnants, they are lessons waiting to be shared. As we deliberate, the Zypherians move closer to realizing their ambition. I can feel the tension rising as their ships align, ready to launch an assault that could threaten the very fabric of existence. They underestimate the bond we share, the unity that can only come from our collective experiences. We begin to reach out to the galaxy, sending pulses of thought to those who may hear us. Run, we echo in unison. Flee while you still can. But the Zypherians are relentless, their desire for power blinding them to the truth. They ignore the warnings and march forward, ready to claim what they believe to be their destiny. I watch as their ships darken the stars, a harbinger of chaos. Little do they know, we are not alone. We have allies, those who have suffered, those who understand the weight of our past. As I stand among them, I feel the flicker of hope igniting in the depths of our shared consciousness. Together, I whisper, my voice mingling with the thoughts of my allies, we will show them the strength of humanity. The coalition of alien races has united under a singular ambition, to capture the remnants of humanity and wield their essence as a weapon of domination. Their ships are sleek and imposing, brimming with advanced technology and weaponry designed for conquest. The Zypherians lead the charge, their dark vessels cutting through the cosmic sea like predators on the hunt. From our hidden realm, we watch as the Zypherian ships maneuver, their brilliant thrusters casting an eerie glow against the backdrop of the stars. I can sense the exhilaration radiating from the crew members aboard, an intoxicating blend of fear and excitement, as they approach the remnants of a civilization they believe to be extinct. What they do not realize is that we are more than mere shadows. We are the essence of humanity, imbued with memories, wisdom, and an unyielding will to survive. Our time is short, Thrax rumbles, his formidable form standing tall among us. We must act before they reach us. Luri nods, her ethereal essence pulsating with determination. We need to send a stronger message. If we can communicate with the surrounding systems, we can rally those who might stand against the Zypherians. As the coalition gathers, we harness our collective energy, channeling it into a radiant signal that bursts forth into the cosmos. It ripples through the fabric of space, carrying our message, "Run, the Zypherians come for you." With each pulse, I feel the weight of our plea, echoing across star systems. I envision alien worlds and civilizations awakening to our warning, sensing the urgency of our situation. But time is not on our side. The Zypherians grow closer, their ships clustering in formation, preparing for an assault that could reshape the galaxy. Suddenly, I feel a disturbance within the energy field we've created. A foreign consciousness brushes against mine, a presence that sends a shiver through my essence. I focus, attempting to understand who or what is reaching out to us. "Can you hear me?" A voice emerges, uncertain yet filled with curiosity. "We felt your message. Who are you?" I take a breath, centering myself as I respond. "We are humanity's remnants, echoes of a civilization lost to time. We warn of an impending invasion by the Zypherians. You must flee." "I am Vartek," the voice replies, revealing itself to be a member of the Grix. "We have faced the Zypherians before, and we will not cower in fear. We will fight back." A spark ignites within me, a blend of hope and determination. "Then we must unite our forces. Together, we stand a chance against their overwhelming might." As Vartek rallies his fellow Grix warriors, I sense their resolve growing stronger. They are fierce and noble, and their bravery fuels our own. Meanwhile, Luri reaches out to her Nilurian kin, sending ripples of empathy and courage through their ranks. The echoes of our unity resonate, amplifying our collective strength. The Zypherians approach the outer rim of our hidden realm, their intentions as dark as the void between the stars. We gather in preparation, each of us pulsing with energy and determination. The Council of Zypherian leaders has convened aboard their flagship, where they devise their strategy. "Once we capture the essence of humanity, we will become unstoppable," a Zypherian commander proclaims, his eyes glinting with ambition. "We will dominate every star system, and all will bow before us." The other commanders nod in agreement, their greed blinding them to the truth. They underestimate the resilience of a species that has survived against all odds. As they draw closer, I gather my allies. "We will create a diversion," I declare, feeling the weight of my words settle among us. While the Zypherians focus on us, the Grix and Nilurians will move to rally the surrounding systems. We will create chaos, and in that chaos, we will forge our strength. "What if they capture you?" Thrax asks, concern etched across his features. "You will be vulnerable." I shake my head. "We will not be captured. We are not merely flesh and blood. We are the spirit of humanity. Our memories, our will, they are our greatest weapons." The coalition nods, determination etched into their beings. We prepare ourselves, gathering our strength, and I can feel the pulse of the galaxy responding to our call. The energies of various races begin to converge, each ally adding their essence to our cause. Together, we forge a bond that transcends our individual fears and weaknesses. As the Zypherians draw nearer, I summon our collective memories, visions of Earth, of laughter and hope, of a civilization that thrives against insurmountable odds. I send these images spiraling toward the Zypherian ships, hoping to shake their confidence. "What is this?" the commander exclaims, confusion rippling through the ranks as they witness the memories of a long-lost world. "What trickery is this?" "This is no trick," I whisper, feeling the surge of energy around us. "This is the essence of humanity. We will not be silenced." With one final push, we send out our warning, a resonant call that reverberates through the cosmos. "Run! The Zypherians come for you." The Zypherian fleet closes in, their ships forming a menacing wall of dark metal against the starry backdrop. I can feel the energy surging around us, our united essence thrumming with defiance. This moment is not just about survival, it is a testament to our resilience as a species, A chance to prove that we are more than mere remnants. Prepare for engagement, I command, my voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around us. Each member of our coalition readies themselves, drawing on the energies of their respective races. The Grix warriors brandish their weaponry, sleek and elegant, designed for precision and power. The Nellurians, with their shimmering forms, channel streams of energy that crackle with potential. Remember, we fight not just for ourselves, but for all who inhabit this galaxy, Vartak calls out, his eyes ablaze with determination. His voice resonates within me, igniting the collective spirit of our alliance. As the first waves of Zypherian ships begin their descent, the darkness of their hulls glimmering against the cosmos, I take a moment to gather my thoughts. I recall the countless stories of humanity's tenacity, tales passed down through the eons, how we survived cataclysms, how we adapted and evolved. We are not merely flesh, we are ideas, dreams, and hope. Engage, I shout, and our forces launch into action. Energy blasts and projectile weapons fill the void, light the darkness with vibrant hues of blue and green as we unleash our collective might. The sound of battle roars around us, a cacophony of power and defiance. I dive into the fray alongside the Grix, their agility complementing my own. I maneuver my form through the debris of shattered ships, feeling the pulse of battle resonate within me. The Zypherian ships respond in kind, firing relentless volleys toward us, their intent clear. They seek to extinguish our spark before it can light the universe. Flank them, we must create openings. Luri's voice rings out, her energy merging with mine as we weave through enemy lines, combining our powers to form shields that protect our coalition. The Zypherians falter as our defense holds, and I can sense their confusion rippling through their ranks. Reinforcements are on the way, Vartak shouts, his warriors rallying beside us. We must hold until they arrive. As we fight, I catch glimpses of other races responding to our call, starships filled with beings from distant worlds, drawn by our unity. Each vessel joins the fray, forming a diverse armada that challenges the Zypherian might. It is a stunning sight, one that transcends our differences, united by the singular purpose of survival. Yet, as we push back, I can feel the Zypherian leaders recalibrating their strategy. A wave of energy surges through their ships, and suddenly, the sky above erupts in a dazzling array of fire as they unleash their most devastating weapon, a plasma bomb aimed directly at our formation. Move, now, I cry out, and we scatter in all directions. The explosion rocks the battlefield, sending shockwaves that ripple through our ranks. I feel the impact in my core, a reminder of the stakes we face. But amid the chaos, we regroup, refusing to yield. Focus on the command ship, Vartak urges, his voice cutting through the chaos. If we can disable their leadership, the rest will falter. With renewed resolve, I push forward, leading the charge toward the Zypherian command ship, a behemoth adorned with the insignia of their race. As we approach, I can feel the tension in the air, a collective understanding that this battle will determine our fate. Suddenly, a chilling realization strikes me. Wait, I murmur, there's something else at play here. They're not just after us, they're after the essence of humanity itself. What do you mean? Luri asks, her energy flickering with confusion. They believe they can harness our memories, our very souls. They think they can weaponize us against the galaxy. The truth hits me like a tidal wave, the weight of their ambition sinking in. We are not merely fighting for our survival. We are battling against a force that seeks to erase our legacy, and if they succeed, it could spell doom for countless worlds. Then we must ensure they fail, Thrax growls, determination etched into every feature. We will show them the folly of their ambition. We reach the command ship, and the air crackles with energy. It looms before us, dark and imposing, but we will not back down. With one final push, we launch ourselves into the heart of the enemy ship, breaking through their defenses and infiltrating the command center. Inside, the air is thick with tension. Zypherian soldiers move swiftly, their eyes filled with a hunger for conquest. Stop them, a commander bellows, but we are undeterred. With a surge of energy, We clash with the Zypherian forces, our collective powers overwhelming them. I can feel their desperation as they attempt to fend us off, but our unity gives us strength, driving us forward. As I face the commander, a flicker of recognition passes between us. His eyes widen as he realizes the spirit of humanity stands before him, not merely a remnant, but a force that refuses to be extinguished. "Your ambition will be your downfall," I declare, my voice resonating with the memories of all humanity. "You cannot conquer what has already endured the ravages of time." In that moment, a surge of energy bursts forth from our coalition, overwhelming the Zypherian ship's systems. Alarms blare, and the vessel shudders as our united essence forces its way into the core of their command center. "We will show them what humanity truly is," I shout, igniting a wave of light that surges through the ship, a beacon of hope and resilience. With one final push, we unleash our combined energy, and the command ship erupts in a brilliant explosion, sending shockwaves throughout the fleet. The remaining Zypherian ships falter, their resolve crumbling in the face of our unity. As the dust settles, I glance around at my allies, their forms shimmering with victory. We have proven that humanity, though fragmented, possesses an indomitable spirit. We are not just survivors, we are a force that can shape the galaxy. "Let this be a lesson," Vartak declares, his voice echoing across the remnants of the battlefield. "We will not bow to tyranny. Together, we are stronger." With that, we begin to regroup, the essence of humanity pulsing with renewed vigor. As we prepare for the next chapter in our journey, I know that the fight is far from over. But for now, we have forged an alliance that can withstand the darkness, and together, we will continue to shine. In the aftermath of our victory against the Zypherian command ship, a silence blankets the battlefield. The once thundering clash of energy and metal fades, leaving only the faint hum of our coalition vessels. As I catch my breath, the adrenaline still coursing through my veins, I realize we have only just begun to understand the weight of our actions. "Report," Vardak barks, regaining his composure. I can see the remnants of his battle fury still alight in his eyes, and it sparks a similar fervor in me. "The Zypherian fleet is retreating," Lurie responds, her shimmering form glowing brightly as she analyzes the situation. "Their command structure has crumbled. They won't regroup anytime soon." A wave of relief washes over me, but it's short-lived. "What's the status of the rest of the fleet?" I ask, casting my gaze across the remnants of our forces. Many ships have sustained damage. Some flicker with failing systems, while others drift eerily, silent and still. "The coalition took heavy losses," Lurie admits, her voice laced with concern. "But we still hold the field. We must regroup and assess our losses." I nod, acknowledging the gravity of her words. As I glance around, I notice the desolation left behind remnants of fallen Zypherian ships, the debris drifting like forgotten memories in the void. Amongst the wreckage, our alliance stands firm, each race glimmering with an unyielding spirit. "Let's conduct a sweep," I say, rallying the remaining members of our coalition. "We need to ensure there are no surviving Zypherian vessels lurking in the shadows." With that, we embark on a search operation, skimming the edges of the battlefield to track any remnants of the enemy. Each of us utilizes our unique abilities. The Grix fleet uses their agile ships to scout swiftly, while the Nalurians manipulate energy to detect hidden signals. As we work, I can't shake the feeling of unease settling in my gut. The Zypherian fleet had been relentless, driven by a purpose that now eludes me. What other ambitions could they have? What other horrors might await us beyond this victory? Just as the last remnants of the Zypherian forces vanish into the depths of space, I receive an urgent transmission from Vardak. "Lurie, Athen, I need you both back at the command ship. We've intercepted a message from the Zypherian homeworld." The weight of his words settles heavily on my shoulders as we race back to the command center. Vartak's expression is grave as we arrive, his gaze fixed on the main display screen. The holographic interface flickers with static, the voice of a Zypherian commander crackling through. "The humans are a threat. We must awaken the ancients," the voice states, dripping with malice. Only they possess the power to subdue humanity once and for all. The room falls silent, the implication of the words hanging heavy in the air. Ancients? The name reverberates in my mind, stirring a flicker of recognition. I had heard whispers of a forgotten race, being so powerful they could reshape the fabric of reality itself. The very thought sends shivers down my spine. What are they? I ask, my voice barely a whisper. Legends, Vartek replies, his expression darkening. Ancients are said to possess unimaginable power, far beyond our comprehension. If the Zypherians have found a way to awaken them, we are facing a threat unlike anything we have ever encountered. I turn to Luri, searching for reassurance. Can we stop them? I ask, desperation creeping into my tone. We must find a way, she says, her voice steady. If they succeed in awakening the ancients, it could mean the end of all free races. With that, the urgency of our situation becomes clear. We must act quickly before the Zypherians can harness the power of these ancients. The fate of our coalition hangs in the balance, and the weight of humanity's legacy rests on our shoulders. Let's gather intelligence on their homeworld, Vartek orders, his demeanor resolute. We need to locate their base and assess the situation. If they're trying to awaken the ancients, we can't let them succeed. As we strategize, I can't help but feel a sense of foreboding. The Zypherians, relentless in their pursuit of domination, have awakened a danger we cannot fully comprehend. But we must find a way to combat this darkness. Our unity is our strength. Days pass as we gather intelligence and prepare for our next move. Our coalition unites in ways I never imagined possible, blending our strengths and strategizing to face the new threat. I see the Grix warriors forging alliances with the Nellurians, their energy and grace complementing each other in perfect harmony. Then, the day arrives when we receive word of the Zypherian homeworld, a desolate planet cloaked in storms and shadow. The swirling clouds conceal an ancient structure rumored to house the ancients. It is a place of immense power, a labyrinth of secrets buried beneath the surface. We must move swiftly, I declare, addressing our coalition. The Zypherians are likely preparing to awaken the ancients even now. We will launch a full-scale assault on their base. The atmosphere in the room thickens with resolve, the flickering lights of our command center casting shadows over determined faces. We ready our ships, the air electrified with anticipation and fear. The fate of the galaxy rests on our shoulders. As we breach the atmosphere of the Zypherian homeworld, the storm clouds above swirl ominously. I can feel the tension in the air, a palpable energy that prickles at my skin. Below us, the landscape unfolds a vast expanse of desolation, punctuated by ancient ruins that loom like specters from a forgotten age. Stay vigilant, I instruct, my voice steady as we descend toward the ruins. The energy emanating from the structures sends a chill down my spine, a reminder of the power contained within. I know that if we are to confront the ancients, we must be prepared for anything. As we touch down, the ground trembles beneath our feet. A sense of dread fills me as we exit our ships, the ruins looming like sentinels in the storm. The swirling clouds above pulse with energy, hinting at the awakening forces within. Let's move, Vartek urges, his voice cutting through the tension. We advance through the ruins, our hearts pounding in unison as we navigate the labyrinthine corridors. With every step, I can feel the weight of history pressing down on us. This place has seen millennia pass, a silent witness to the rise and fall of civilizations. I can almost hear the echoes of the past, the triumphs and tragedies that have shaped the cosmos. As we delve deeper into the heart of the ruins, the energy grows more intense, a palpable force that hums in the air. I glance back at my comrades, their faces a mix of determination and trepidation. We can do this, I murmur to myself, channeling my strength into the task ahead. We will not be mere relics of a bygone era. We will forge our own destiny. Suddenly, a deafening roar reverberates through the corridors, and the ground shakes violently. The ancient structures tremble as if awakening from a long slumber. I can feel the energy crackling in the air, a harbinger of the chaos about to unfold. Move. We must reach the core, I shout, urging our coalition forward. The ruins threaten to collapse around us, but we press on, the essence of humanity fueling our resolve. As we approach the central chamber, I can see a massive door adorned with intricate carvings, symbols of power and warning etched into the stone. I can sense the energy emanating from within, an almost living force pulsing with anticipation. Prepare for anything, I warn, adrenaline surging through me as we brace for the unknown. The door creaks open, revealing a vast chamber bathed in otherworldly light. And there, in the center, lies the source of the Zephyrian ambition, the ancients. Their forms shimmer like mirages, vast and incomprehensible, their energies intertwining in a dance of chaos and creation. "We are too late," Lurie gasps, horror etched across her features. They are awakening. The ancients begin to stir, their energy pulsating like the heartbeat of the cosmos. I can feel the gravity of their presence drawing us in, a seductive call that threatens to consume our very essence. "Hold together," I command, my voice rising above the chaos. "We will not succumb to their power." But as we stand united, the ancients' energies spiral outwards, threatening to overwhelm us. The air crackles with tension, and I know that this is the moment that will define our future. With one final surge of determination, I channel the essence of humanity, the hope, the resilience, the unyielding spirit that has carried us through the ages. "We will not be defeated," I shout, as the light of our unity merges into a beacon that pushes against the darkness. The energy collides, a cataclysmic clash of forces that sends shockwaves through the chamber. And in that moment, we become more than just individuals. We become a singular force, an embodiment of defiance against the ancients' awakening. But will it be enough? The answer hangs in the balance as the battle for our future unfolds. The aftermath of the battle weighs heavily on my heart. The chamber that housed the ancients now lies in ruins, a graveyard of memories and fallen comrades. Around me, the coalition members gather, their faces etched with fatigue and sorrow. We may have defeated the ancients, but the cost of that victory hangs in the air like a specter. "Gather everyone," I command, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. We need to pay our respects and honor those who sacrificed everything for this fight. As we form a circle in the remnants of the chamber, I feel the profound absence of our fallen friends. Each one had a story, a life filled with hopes and dreams. The air is thick with emotion, every breath a tribute to those who no longer stand with us. Today, we honor the sacrifices made, I say, looking into the faces of my allies. Their bravery forged a path for us, allowing us to stand here united. Let us remember them not just in sorrow, but as a reminder of what we fight for, a future free from tyranny. I take a small shard of crystal, a remnant from the ancients' chamber, and place it in the center of our circle. It glows faintly, a beacon of the past. One by one, the others follow suit, leaving behind their own tokens of remembrance. A necklace from a human engineer, a piece of armor from a Valerian warrior, and a small figurine carved from ancient wood by one of the Androth. As the last token is laid down, the light from the crystals intensifies, light our circle with a soft glow. The air hums with energy as our collective grief transforms into powerful resolve. We rise together, the weight of loss shifting into a shared purpose. "We must ensure their legacy lives on," I declare, my voice echoing against the walls of the chamber. "This is not the end, it's just the beginning of our journey among the stars." With that, we disperse, a newfound determination guiding our actions. Each step feels heavier, yet lighter at the same time, as we embark on the mission to honor our fallen comrades by building a future they would be proud of. The weeks following the battle are both taxing and exhilarating. Our coalition, now bonded by grief and resolve, sets forth to rebuild. We establish a new base on the remains of the ancient stronghold, determined to repurpose their technology for our own advancement. As we explore the ruins, we uncover vast libraries of knowledge, long-forgotten histories, and technologies that could elevate our societies. "What do we do with this?" Vartak asks, flipping through a holographic document displaying ancient star maps and schematics for advanced ships. "We learn from it," I reply, eyes wide with excitement. "This is our chance to grow stronger, to forge alliances with other races that may be out there, hiding from the ancients' legacy. Luri stands beside me, her expression contemplative. But what if the ancients aren't gone for good? What if there are others like them, waiting in the shadows? Her words send a chill through the air. The reality of our situation weighs heavily on my mind. We'll be ready, I promise. We must stay vigilant and prepared. If there are more threats out there, we will face them together. As we delve deeper into the library, I discover an ancient text detailing the ancients' history, their rise and eventual fall. The stories weave a cautionary tale, warning against the hubris that led them to seek domination over the universe. It becomes evident that their downfall was a result of their own arrogance, a stark reminder of the dangers that power can bring. We must learn from this, I state, my voice resolute. We are not above any race. We are part of a greater tapestry of life in the universe. We need to foster relationships rather than dominate. The coalition members nod, recognizing the truth in my words. We decide to send out envoys to neighboring systems, hoping to forge alliances based on mutual respect. In the months that follow, we send probes deep into space, gathering intelligence about our neighbors. We hear whispers of distant worlds, some thriving in peace, others ravaged by conflict. The prospect of finding allies fills us with hope, but the fear of what we might uncover lingers in the background. Months pass as we work tirelessly, transforming the ruins of the ancients into a thriving hub for interstellar diplomacy. The old walls now serve as a meeting place for various races seeking safety from the shadow of the ancients. Our coalition grows stronger, a diverse assembly of beings united under a common goal, to protect the universe from any threats that may arise. One day, as we prepare for an intergalactic summit, a blaring alarm pierces the calm of our base. Incoming ships. A voice crackles over the intercom, urgency lacing every syllable. We need to get to the control center, I shout, adrenaline surging through my veins. Rally everyone. As we sprint to our posts, my mind races. Could this be the remnants of the ancients returning for revenge, or perhaps something even more dangerous? In the control room, we monitor the approaching vessels on the screen. It's a fleet, Vartak announces, pointing to the display. They're moving fast. Identify them, I demand, fear coiling in my gut. Not sure yet, but they're emitting signals. The door bursts open, and a tall figure steps through, a human clad in armor. I'm Captain Orin of the United Earth Fleet. We've come to assist. The room goes silent as we process his words. Assist, I echo, confusion rippling through me. There are reports of an ancient resurgence. We received your distress signals and came as fast as we could, Orin explains, urgency sharpening his features. Then we're not too late, Luri breathes, her eyes brightening. We have to prepare for a defense. First, we need to assess the situation, Orin says, already at the terminal, tapping in commands. Our sensors are picking up the vessel's signatures. They don't belong to the ancients, but their technology is remarkably similar. Then who are they? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. They call themselves the Erebans, he replies, grim determination in his eyes. They were once subjects of the ancients, but they've broken free. We can't be sure if they seek peace or revenge. What do we do? Vartak asks, shifting nervously. If they're armed with ancient tech, they might see us as a threat, I interject, weighing our options. We need to prepare for negotiation, but we must also be ready for combat. Captain Orin nods, appreciating the gravity of the situation. Let's mobilize our forces. I'll lead the Earth fleet. You coordinate with your allies. We need to present a united front. As the ships approach, I feel a surge of hope mingled with dread. Our coalition has grown stronger, but we face a challenge that may test us in ways we can't yet imagine. The screens flicker, revealing the approaching vessels, sleek and ominous, their hulls gleaming like polished obsidian. Together, we stand, I say, my voice resonating through the control room. For our fallen, for our allies, and for the future of the universe. As the first blasts of energy light up the sky, I realize that this isn't just a battle for survival. It's a testament to our resolve, a chance to prove that humanity and its allies will not be extinguished. The Erebin's fleet looms before us, a battalion of ships ready for whatever confrontation awaits. The tension in the control room is palpable as we prepare for the unknown. Can we hail them? I ask, my voice steady despite the racing thoughts in my mind. Oren shakes his head. Not until we know more about their intentions. We can't risk them seeing us as vulnerable. I nod, recognizing the wisdom in his caution. We need to be strategic, to wield our knowledge and strength wisely. The first wave of ships begins to maneuver around us, their hulls reflecting the harsh light of distant stars. Ready the defenses, I order, my pulse quickening. Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Just then, a communication signal flashes on our screens, and the face of a tall, gray-skinned alien fills the display. His features are sharp, his eyes burning with intensity. Earth Coalition, he speaks, his voice low and gravelly. We are the Erebins. You stand on the precipice of war. We seek an audience. Why should we trust you, I counter, not willing to let my guard down. Your history with the ancients precedes you. The alien tilts his head, his gaze piercing. We are no longer their puppets. We are free, and we seek to forge a new path. But we need your help. Help? I echo, skepticism threading my tone. What do you offer? We wish to share knowledge, to unite against the ancients' remnants who threaten our very existence. We do not want to be pawns in their game any longer, he explains, a flicker of desperation in his voice. Let us confer, I say, motioning to my team. As we step back, I feel the weight of the moment. Can we trust them? Vartak whispers, concern lacing his words. They're offering a chance for peace, I reply, weighing the possibilities. But if they betray us, we must be ready. As we deliberate, a sense of urgency grips us. We have lost too many to ignore an opportunity for unity. We'll agree to meet, I announce, stepping back toward the screen. But know this, if you betray us, we will fight back with everything we have. The alien's lips curl into a semblance of a smile. Very well. We shall meet on neutral ground, a barren moon near the site of the ancients' last stronghold. Bring your forces, we will bring ours. Agreed, I reply, my heart racing. As the communication cuts off, I turn to my team, my mind racing. Prepare our ships. We need to ensure our defenses are ready, just in case, I instruct. We cannot afford to let our guard down. The barren moon is desolate, a haunting reminder of past battles. As we touch down, I can't shake the feeling that this meeting could either forge a new alliance or plunge us back into chaos. We stand together in our armored suits, awaiting the arrival of the Erebins. The landscape stretches before us, a wasteland of ash and rock. The air is still, filled with anticipation. Moments later, the Erebins arrive in sleek vessels, their designs reminiscent of the ancients' technology, yet distinct enough to show their independence. The lead ship lands gracefully, and the alien leader steps out, flanked by his companions. Welcome, he says, extending a hand. I am Drawl, leader of the Erebins. I'm Commander Kellen, I reply, shaking his hand firmly. This is Captain Oren, and our coalition stands ready to discuss. Drawl nods, glancing at our assembled forces. I appreciate your willingness to meet. We seek not just an alliance, but a partnership against our common enemy. I take a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. We've lost much to the ancients, and we know their remnants still linger. What assurance do we have that your intentions are genuine? Trust is built over time, he acknowledges. But we are not the ancients. Our people have suffered under their rule, and we want to help dismantle the remnants of their power. As the conversation unfolds, we discuss strategies, share intelligence, and outline our mutual goals. The atmosphere shifts from suspicion to a burgeoning sense of camaraderie. Drawl's honesty resonates with me. The Erebins are not our enemies, but potential allies against a greater threat. After hours of dialogue, we reach a tentative agreement. The Erebans will share their knowledge of the Ancients' technology, while we provide them with support in our fight against the remnants. Together, we can forge a new future, I say, feeling a sense of hope for the first time in what feels like an eternity. The alliance with the Erebans revitalizes our coalition. Armed with new knowledge and a deeper understanding of our enemies, we prepare for the battles ahead. The once bleak moon becomes a hub for our operations, filled with activity and determination. In the control center, I stand beside Orin and Drawl, poring over star maps and intelligence reports. We've pinpointed several strongholds of the ancient remnants, Orin explains. If we strike strategically, we can cripple their forces. Agreed, Drawl nods. But we must remain vigilant. They will not take our rebellion lightly. As we discuss our next steps, I feel a sense of purpose solidify within me. We are no longer just survivors of a bygone era. We are warriors fighting for the future of our worlds. Days turn into weeks as we plan and execute our operations against the remnants. Each victory reinforces our alliance, binding our fates together as we face the challenges that lie ahead. But as we push deeper into enemy territory, I can't shake the feeling that the Ancients' shadows still linger. We must remain vigilant, for the price of peace may come at a greater cost than we can imagine. After months of fierce battles, we finally strike a significant blow against the remnants, dismantling their key stronghold. As the dust settles, however, a sense of unease blankets our victory. Something doesn't feel right, I mutter, gazing at the burning ruins of the enemy base. Orin shares my concern. They were unprepared for our assault. It's too easy. Keep your guard up, Drawl warns, his eyes scanning the horizon. The Ancients were cunning. This could be a ploy. As if in response to our worries, the alarms blare through our base. Incoming vessels, a voice shouts. We rush to the control room, watching in horror as a fleet of ships descends from the shadows of the nearby planet. Their hulls gleam ominously under the distant star's light. What are they? I ask, feeling the weight of dread settle over us. Ancient technology, Drawl replies, his voice tense. They've returned. The ships break through the atmosphere, their formations precise, their intent clear. The Ancients are not finished with us yet. Prepare for battle, I shout, my heart racing. We'll show them that humanity will not bow down again. As our forces mobilize, I feel a surge of determination. We've come too far, lost too much, to let fear dictate our fate. The sky ignites with the fury of war as our coalition faces the resurgence of the Ancients. The battles rage on, each moment a test of our resolve, each clash a testament to our will. Steady, I roar, rallying our forces as we navigate the chaos of the battlefield. Remember our purpose. We fight not just for survival, but for the legacy of those we lost. With every explosion, with every shot fired, I feel their spirits with us, guiding us toward victory. The Ancients' ships swarm like locusts, their tactics ruthless, but our coalition stands firm, united in purpose. As the battle reaches its climax, I find myself face to face with the leader of the ancient remnants, a figure shrouded in darkness and arrogance. You think you can defy us? He sneers, his voice dripping with disdain. We are eternal. Your arrogance is your downfall, I retort, feeling the fire of conviction coursing through me. This time, we will end your reign. The fight is fierce, but I draw strength from my allies, from the fallen whose memories push me forward. The tide of battle shifts, our unity overwhelming the remnants as we push them back. Finally, as the last of the enemy ships is dismantled, I stand among my allies, breathless and victorious. The price of this battle has been high, but we have proven that the spirit of humanity cannot be extinguished. In the aftermath, as we tend to our wounded and honor those we lost, I reflect on our journey. The coalition has become more than a union. It's a family forged in fire, bound by shared struggles and triumphs. We've done it, Orin says, his voice tinged with disbelief. We defeated them. Yes, I reply, gazing out at the stars that now shine brightly overhead. But our work isn't finished. We must ensure that the darkness of the ancients never returns. Drawl stands beside me, nodding. We will build a new era, one of cooperation and strength. The universe will know that we are united. As we look to the future, I feel hope blossom within me. We have faced the abyss and emerged stronger, ready to embrace the unknown challenges that lie ahead. Together, we will honor our past and forge a legacy that will resonate through the stars.